Tonight on Coronation Street update, a shattered man stands in the middle of the street, covered in paint, humiliated, filmed by strangers, screaming threats he can never take back. And watching from the shadows is the woman who helped destroy him, because Daniel Osborne's life is no longer spiraling. It's collapsing in real time. Welcome back to Coronation Street Update, the channel where we uncover Corrie's darkest twists, emotional breakdowns, psychological warfare, and the devastating secrets tearing Weatherfield apart. And tonight's storyline is genuinely disturbing. Not because of romance, not because of rivalry, because this is a story about psychological destruction. Systematic, personal, relentless. And the terrifying part? Daniel may not realize how deeply trapped he already is. Everything changed the moment Megan Walsh was exposed. The revelation that Daniel's girlfriend had secretly been abusing underage student, Will Driscoll, didn't just shock Weatherfield. It detonated Daniel's entire identity. As a teacher, as a father, as a man trusted by vulnerable people. Even though Daniel himself was manipulated, the guilt never disappeared. Because psychologically, shame doesn't care whether you're innocent. It infects everything anyway. And Daniel has been drowning in it ever since. Isolation, alcohol, lies, emotional collapse. The man viewers once saw as intelligent and composed now feels emotionally hollowed out. And that's exactly why Jody becomes so dangerous. Because predators don't always arrive during moments of strength. They arrive during emotional collapse. Jody had already burned bridges elsewhere. Her failed attempt to seduce David Platt backfired spectacularly. She needed somewhere to go. Someone vulnerable. Someone easy to manipulate. And Daniel Osborne became the perfect target. At first it almost looked harmless. A temporary arrangement. Two damaged people sharing space. But then everything changes. Because Daniel doesn't invite Jody into his home out of trust. He does it out of fear. She blackmails him, threatening to expose the truth that he never went away to the lakes at all. Instead, he'd been hiding alone in the flat, spiraling emotionally while pretending everything was under control. That lie matters enormously, because Daniel isn't just hiding from Weatherfield. He's hiding from responsibility, from Birdie, from Ken, from himself. And Jody immediately recognizes that weakness. That's when things take a darker turn, because Jody begins making herself indispensable, cooking, helping, supporting Daniel emotionally, not loudly, not aggressively, quietly, like someone carefully embedding themselves into another person's life until escape becomes psychologically difficult. And honestly, that's what makes her so chilling. She doesn't destroy people through violence. She destroys them through dependence. Daniel slowly begins leaning on her emotionally at exactly the moment his life is collapsing publicly. Suspended from Weatherfield High. Humiliated after lashing out over Megan. Emotionally isolated from almost everyone around him. Jody becomes the only constant left. And that's terrifying. Because viewers already know she isn't helping him heal. She's helping him deteriorate. But the worst part? Daniel almost seems relieved to surrender control. Because when people hit emotional rock bottom, sometimes manipulation feels easier than responsibility. And what happens next is devastating. Just as Daniel starts trying to rebuild himself for Birdie's sake, he asks Jody to move out. A simple decision. Reasonable. Necessary. Healthy. But Jody doesn't respond emotionally. She retaliates strategically. Suddenly, an anonymous online troll appears. Truth teller. Rumors spread across Weatherfield claiming Daniel knew about Megan's abuse all along. The accusations are brutal, calculated, reputation-destroying, socially toxic, and viewers know exactly who's behind it. Jody, which changes this storyline completely. This is no longer emotional messiness. This is psychological sabotage. And Daniel begins collapsing under the pressure almost immediately. Then comes the attack. Two masked teenagers corner him in public. Paint explodes across his body. Insults rain down. Phones record every second. And in one catastrophic moment, Daniel breaks. He screams threats. Violent threats. The kind that instantly make him look unstable. The teenagers laugh while filming him. That image alone is heartbreaking. Not just because Daniel loses control, but because humiliation has become public entertainment. And that's the truly terrifying part of this storyline. Daniel isn't simply being destroyed privately anymore. He's being dismantled publicly, digitally, socially, psychologically. One viral clip could finish him completely. But that may not be the whole truth. Because underneath Daniel's collapse lies something even more tragic. Exhaustion. The kind of emotional exhaustion that comes from constantly defending yourself against shame, guilt, accusation, and failure. Daniel isn't fighting one crisis anymore. He's fighting 20 at once. Fatherhood, public judgment, professional disgrace, mental deterioration, isolation. And Jody sits directly at the center of all of it like a ticking time bomb. Then comes the moment that truly changes everything. Ken Barlow hears about the attack. And suddenly the emotional fallout becomes unavoidable. Ken encourages Daniel to take another holiday. But Daniel finally confesses the truth. There never was a holiday. No recovery. No escape. No fresh start. Just weeks hidden inside the flat with Jody while his life quietly collapsed around him. And Ken's reaction is devastating. Not anger. Disappointment. The kind that cuts far deeper. Because when Ken tells Daniel that Birdie deserves better, it lands like emotional destruction. For Daniel, that sentence confirms his greatest fear. That he's failing everyone. As a father. As a son. As a man. And honestly, that may be exactly what Jody wanted all along. Because the more isolated Daniel becomes, the more dependent he becomes on her. That's the terrifying cycle now unfolding. And unless somebody stops it, Daniel may be heading toward complete psychological collapse. Not because of one mistake, because of relentless emotional erosion. One humiliation at a time. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe to Coronation Street Update for daily Corrie spoilers, emotional deep dives, psychological analysis, and explosive theories from the cobbles. 'Cause trust me, Daniel Osborne's nightmare is only beginning.